Hello, everybody. Welcome to another weekly edition of Cloud Connect. Ryan, how's it going?
Good. We're doing this pretty regularly. Also, I think you got your Microsoft water bottle. I have a Microsoft shirt on.
Like this?
Yeah.
Microsoft security.
I don't have one of those fancy ones, but they don't give us lowly CSAM's cool swag.
Well, it's of course something that we're talking about with every customer, and I think obviously generative AI is getting a ton of buzz and a ton of publicity, but I think security is just getting just as much, right?
Well, and generative AI is just another vector, another avenue for a lot of stuff that goes on. So I think every time we talk about this, we bring up the fact that it's one of those things we talk about a lot with customers, right? Is generative AI is super cool, super useful, incredibly powerful, but that holds true for your adversaries and your users, just agents of pure chaos in your organization. Once they get it, it also goes a little crazy. So make sure that you're ready.
Well, I'm sharing the first little bit of news here that I just saw published today. This will be interesting, right? Apparently no Xbox games are off limits to PlayStation. And this came directly from Phil Spencer, right? Now, it's kind of interesting when you look at this, and of course, this is a Yahoo article, right? So this is not, of course, coming directly from, at least I've seen any, Microsoft blogs, but I think it's funny. I don't see any sort of red lines in our portfolio that says thou must not. So again, this is kind of more just a little fun piece of news, but it grabbed my attention right away, especially as, you've got your Halo trophy in the background. I've got my official Halo 3 helmet here in the background. So of course we're Microsoft, fanboys. We're Halo guys from back in the day.
It's one of the big things that I have appreciated about Microsoft. I feel like it started when Windows Phone died. Rest in peace, Windows Phone. I miss you every day. I still have my old stuff downstairs. But I think we realized that if we couldn't own the ecosystem, we needed to be on everyone's ecosystem, right? And so rather than us trying to limit who had access to it, we're just going to put Office on everything. We've turned into Skyrim. You can put Skyrim on anything. Well, Microsoft is going to work with every vendor, every product. We're going to work with everyone. And I think it's great the thought of us bringing Xbox games to PlayStation, right? As someone who has friends that are only PlayStation players, it sucks. I'm like, oh, there's a new game coming out. We can't play it. Sorry. At least PlayStation's bringing stuff to PC. That's nice.
Yeah. Well,
another Windows Microsoft platform.
Think of it this way. I mean, how, even in the time I've been here, almost 9 years, the Microsoft ecosystem is now very inclusive of, a ton of other vendors, right? When you think of Azure security and, protecting other workloads on premise in the cloud, hey, yeah, of course we protect your Azure workloads or protect your on-premise workloads, but hey, we're happy to protect, GCP, AWS, you name it. Let's protect everything, cover everything. Obviously including Linux. That was not many years ago, right? When it was hey, let's not have Linux be an afterthought when it was all about the Microsoft platform, building our tools to work with those environments.
Microsoft, I think, is still the largest single contributor to the Linux code base. Because for a while, the battle was always Linux versus Windows. And people realize Microsoft actually is putting a lot of money and effort into improving Linux. That's weird. You mentioned.
Go ahead. I was going to say somebody's got a bigger picture thinking that they're putting on when they think a total addressable market, and it's let's just work with everybody.
Oh yeah,
not a strategy, right?
You got it. Diversifying helps, right? I feel like Apple has done well not diversifying, right? Most of their money comes from iPhones and that whole that vertical there. if that goes down, all of a sudden the brand new, a brain phone, and we don't need iPhones anymore, Apple's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas we just sort of we sent roots out everywhere to find where we could. You mentioned the third-party stuff with security. We released an update of our cybersecurity reference architecture recently. Microsoft did. And it includes tying into third-party apps. We mentioned ServiceNow and Salesforce. There's a bunch of them that are there, but these tie in directly, like API-wise, for like maybe you want to generate tickets automatically, or Salesforce generates something, and you want to make sure that's secure. But also AWS, GCP, so Google Cloud Platform, all that stuff, and first and third party AI capabilities. So our security adoption framework includes all that stuff, right? So yeah, we're realizing we're not assuming you're only going to be in Azure, or you're only going to be with Copilot. But it doesn't mean you can't be safe, and that we can't acknowledge the fact that our services are going to work with you, and they need to be safe all the way through. So yeah, big hat time, big brain future vision is, we want to partner. Let's just put ourselves in the best place to do that.
Well, and it's, I think, there's the business side of, we don't really want to have to turn anybody away, right? I mean, that's an obvious point you think about. But then I think from a security perspective, man, if you're leaving gaps out there and you're acknowledging wow, we're just not going to cover that. I mean, that introduces a lot of potential risk, right? And it feels like we're trying to move away from that. I mean, we're trying to centralize, we're trying to standardize, we're trying to help, the teams that are boots on the ground working in these tough scenarios. Let's try to make their lives as easy as possible, and let's leverage the power of machine learning and AI and all that we have available to us today, to really help secure environments holistically. What else you got? I know I got a big one here, but I want to let you.
I'll mention a couple little things real quick here. So one thing, this is from my newsletter. This is an enterprise impacting piece of news I wanted to bring up real quick. People, just in case they weren't aware, as part of Microsoft's Secure Future initiative, which is a big thing we did after some news last year about some stuff that happened. Our new Secure Future initiative, we are removing the option to skip MFA. So previously, you start my company, I make you a new account, you could skip MFA for up to 14 days because you're getting onboarded, right? We're making sure you're up to speed. You don't need to MFA for a couple of weeks. It's fine. Well, the problem is we were seeing a lot of attacks happen during that initial 2-week period with the new account.
Question. I bet I know why. People love to put on LinkedIn, hey, I got a new job. Hey,
they do.
Social engineering, right?
Exactly. Yeah, keep an eye out for, hey, I'm starting my new job at, Company Z tomorrow. How great is this? So now all of a sudden, right, we used to give 14-day. That's going away starting December 2nd. So we are less than about 3 weeks out from this not being an option. So MFA, as we know, blocks over 99% of identity-based attacks. So there are options, right? There's one-time passcodes and things you can do as an administrator to let people still get into their systems. But the goal here is just be aware, if you manage the systems or work for a company that has new employees coming in like this, that there may be some changes coming. So cool security. Hooray for us improving security defaults. The other piece, I don't know if you've seen this yet. Have you seen the Basilica in AI thing that Microsoft did? So my computer absolutely hates this thing. Maybe yours will work better than mine. I'm going to send this on Teams real quick. So Microsoft and Italy, the whole country, and this other company who I'll find the name in a second. Their name is where to go? This is good content. Iconem. are so essentially used AI and like tens of thousands of photos to essentially create the basilica in 3D. Um, so it lets you start to like basically walk through the basilica. This video sort of shows how we did it.
Huh.
Um, this is a an update to an old technology Microsoft used to have that would let you use photogrammetry to build it. You could do it yourself actually. To take a bunch of pictures, it would generate a 3D model of it.
Huh.
But in this case, we're using AI to do this more effectively, right? To match up all the photos properly. So it essentially lets you, and this is right, as a proof of concept for people to use, but you could essentially anywhere, like your house, maybe you're a realtor and want to do this in a house. You could
Yep.
walk through and take a whole bunch of pictures or just a couple of videos, walk through the house,
Sure.
drop it in this AI bot, and just say, build me a 3D model.
Huh.
And off you go. Um, and so Microsoft did this a while ago, and the goal was to essentially capture historic locations and preserve them for the future.
Yeah.
Um,
What was the big fire that just happened? Was that a year?
that was in Notre Dame, a few
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So luckily, Notre Dame had already been captured for this. But anyways, cool thing is neat to see AI used to look like this is not like Copilot typing out an email.
Yep.
This is just a very different way to look at this and sort of be involved.
Yep.
So, anyways, cool thing to see. If you're interested in architecture or travel or just, I don't know, neat technology stories, I'll post this afterwards, a link to this, because it is really cool to see it.
Yeah.
And to see how effective it is. I mean, it really is. It's impressive. It's the kind of thing that, if you've done Microsoft Flight Simulator and you've seen how we've used satellite photos to recreate three-dimensional spaces, this does that, but way more advanced.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean it's a perfect example of, like we've talked about, of course, the capabilities and the AI tools and how we use it today is kind of in a box of what we think it can do, what it can do. It's stuff like this where you really go, man, okay, somebody is thinking outside the box a little bit and they're like, hey, well, let's push the boundaries, let's see what this can actually do. And
yeah.
this is just scratching the surface, right?
Like I said, it's only going to get better from here. This is the worst it's ever going to be. Like every day I can say that. Something new happens, I'm like, cool. This is the worst it'll ever be from this point forward.
I see we have Melody who's asked a couple questions, so I appreciate you being on. She asked about how would you license something like this? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it has some type of consumption based model, that'll end up, to render and to use it. I think most of the generative AI tools outside of, of course, the per user licensed, it's like the M365 Copilot. When you get into these more specific kind of use cases, it's just going to be consumption based for how you run this and how you're charged. Would you think that's probably a fair assumption, Ryan?
I honestly don't know if there'll be a charge for it. So the old one didn't have a charge for it.
Okay.
And it may be that like think like OneDrive for if you open up a Hotmail account for free or Outlook account, sorry, you get Hotmail's old. No one has that anymore. You open up your Outlook account, you get a certain amount of like free storage, free whatever else that comes with it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be that. Rather than us charging, you will probably just have like it'll start to like rate limit what you can do if you go past the threshold. So like Copilot does now, or if you're a Copilot user for free on the web, you get a certain number of like you can ask a bunch of questions, but you can only like boost so many times without paying for stuff.
Sure.
So at that point, I'm assuming it will be usage based.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right now. I don't think we've announced this as a product. I think it's just sort of a showcase of what we can do with it moving forward.
Any other ones you have? Otherwise, I can. I know I posted.
No, that was it. I mean, there's always more, but I feel like the stuff you want to talk about with the partners, I think is a great place to get to. So,
okay, perfect. Let's see. Share the screen. So yesterday, big announcement that came out. It was about really, I think a lot of it was around like around the traditional EA model that we, a lot of customers buy through. But then we talked about, the CSP model. So that's a lot of the reselling, of Microsoft services through partners. And there was kind of some interesting, announcements, statistics that came out of this announcement, right, around, there's going to be some changes for like customers that are qualified to be on the traditional, or I don't know, legacy, if we want to call it, EA. And then we've got let's just see here. Did it share? Shoot, I have to I clicked in this. It was only sharing this specific tab. So I think it should be, let's find this one. It should be this one. Here we go. There we go. Here's the actual blog announcement. And this is one that, like I mentioned, I had posted online yesterday. But I know that, so MCAE is, I guess, going to be our new kind of direct EA model. And I know that there was some concerns potentially of like, hey, customers that no longer going to qualify. I think you and I were talking about this a little bit. I mean, it's going to be a relatively small amount of current
SMC. Can you get a little bigger on the screen? You want to zoom in a little bit on that?
Can I zoom in on this?
You can probably hit control, yeah.
I don't know if
it's
see that or not.
It's a wall of text.
I mean, it's worth the time. We don't have to get lost in this.
Oh, yeah.
It's obviously worth the time to just read, and it's a relatively pretty quick read. But essentially, beginning January 1st, a small percentage of our customers who are currently on an EA, right, are maybe no longer going to be eligible. But again, it's going to be a pretty small percentage. So for the customers who are listening, don't be alarmed, right? This is something obviously you can talk with your Microsoft account team about. But the idea here and the premise is like Microsoft has always leveraged our partners, right? I mean, if you jump down here, for more than 40 years, Microsoft has relied on our partner ecosystem, right? And as, products have changed, billing methods have changed. We've obviously transitioned from CapEx to OpEx for, how customers are purchasing services. Like there's obviously a big need for flexibility. When we think of total addressable market, right? When we talked a little bit earlier about just like what's Microsoft doing, like I think at the highest of high levels in terms of our strategy and how we go to market. Being able to leverage and have our partners really lead for not only, being there to help implement, migrate, onboard, but even be there to help with, the kind of the administrative side of like, purchasing and support and all the different things. Like the CSP model is really a way that we can get to our aspirational goals of, helping and impacting as many customers as possible. Because obviously there's a limited amount of internal Microsoft folks, and our partner ecosystem is vastly greater in terms of size and scale. So yeah, it was just interesting. I would encourage, anybody who's in the partner ecosystem to, read through this announcement. Obviously, talk with your Microsoft account teams you work with, talk with your, Microsoft partner managers, and really just understand like, hey, how is this going to impact us? And how can we really set up our Microsoft practice to be as successful and as impactful as possible moving forward, right? Because there are some changes that are going to happen, and it's for good. I mean, it's for good for, I think, both customers and for partners.
We talked a lot about this. I feel like because it's one, like you said, right? This is affecting currently a small percentage of customers. The shift, the number of posts I saw online, people going, "The EA is dead." Starting January 1st, no more EAs. You're like, that's not what's happening. But it was started looking at partners. There was concern within the customer success side of Microsoft with things like unified support, what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when I think about what partners are able to do for our customers and what the value they bring, there's so much there that I feel like for me, maybe it's coming from the being on the customer side of this for so long instead of the Microsoft side, but being able to bring a partner in to help onboard a new service and get something up and running, um, and then pivot to using Microsoft for maturity and the ongoing, support and maintenance of the service just makes so much more sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have a partner who can be flexible and get in there and really get stuff done. Because Microsoft, for most people, will not do hands-on keyboard work, right? Unless you get Microsoft Consulting involved, we're not going to do hands-on keyboards. So it's going to be you having to do the work, right? There are these gaps. I think Microsoft is like the whale shark swimming through the ocean, and we have just an army of these partners who help with all the things that Microsoft can't do, right? Because
Yeah.
of our size, we've got like, we're not going to help a 600-person company or a 30-person company do something, onboard something, because for us to get all of our machinery in place
Yeah.
is just too expensive.
Hey,
So
Ryan, don't say we're not going to help.
we will help if you've got the money.
We'll help, but it might not be our specific resources, right? We'll get you
Oh,
connected.
yes, sorry, yeah, correct. What I mean is, like, you're not going to get a Microsoft, like a Microsoft.com
Right.
engineer necessarily helping it. The partners provide just really important help.
Yeah.
And as a customer, I had a number of partners I worked with routinely who helped
Yeah.
us really get stuff done in a way that
Yeah.
no one else could do.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to just assume that, like, oh, what do you mean they're not going to have a Microsoft, alias, and like, oh, are they going to be up to the same level? I mean, there's so many partners
Yeah.
out there that are so freaking good. Like, as much as, I mean, you think of even me internally, right? I've been here 9 years, but I've never done anything boots on the ground with helping customers deploy our solutions. Like, I know all of the obviously business value, and I know how we can, articulate the vision and the story, but like, would you really want me there to help implement our solution? No, you wouldn't want that, right?
That's why I'm there. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
Hey, here's one other thing I think that I thought interesting. So I read through the blog article and I was reading it very carefully, and we're all about informing people, of course. There was a note. It mentioned some of the pricing changing, or this jumped out at me. The price for Microsoft Teams phones is going to now, starting in, does it say here what date? I don't know if it has been reduced. So here's, obviously it's talking about, we will be updating its annual billing price
April 1st.
April 1st, right? So we got some time, but the price is going to go to $10 per person per month. I think right now it's $8. So, $2. When I saw this, and then I read down a little bit farther, folks that have M365 E5 or Office E5, there's going to be no pricing change. I mean, to me, that was like, okay, well, this is even more of a reason if you're interested in phones, or if you have phones standalone today. I'm sure folks have been pitching and talking about moving to ME5, Office E5. I mean, obviously the compliance things that are included, huge purview, our security stack, Defender for Endpoint, our full XDR solution, now telephony. Like, to me, it seems like, and of course I'm going to say this, it's even a better reason to get to ME5, right? And hey, if you're on the EA, yep, lock in the 3-year price for that product. Or whatever contract vehicle you're in, however long you can lock the price. Of course, you want to try and do that. But I wanted to pull this out specifically because, again, as I was digging through the blog, I saw this and it was like, hey, okay, anytime there's a price increase that's going to be coming up, let's just make sure that folks are aware of it. They can get ahead of it, and whatever we need to do to strategize to get you in the best position as you move forward. Here's another reason I would say let's really look hard at ME5.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the thing that struck me was this is the first price update in 7 years, or I guess 8 years by the time this happened, right? So 8 years of Teams phone system growing as much as it has, and this is the first price increase, which is impressive, right? That's something you normally don't see. It's like everything else is gone from price, pretty routinely. And it's always sucks when it goes from price because for everyone who is used to that price, now it's not going to be there anymore. But to your point, right, it bundles well with other stuff. I also saw some news, and I don't know if it was true or not now. I could not find the link again. Talking about how Copilot may be coming to Office as just a built-in service separate from stuff. Having said that, this is a third-party article. I read so much stuff, so like for my newsletter. And
drive by, trying to get you to neck jerk drive by.
Yeah, I thought it's one thing that I read part of the article. I was like, "Wow, this is really interesting. I haven't seen it. Let me look into that." Then I couldn't find the article again afterwards. Maybe with some of these things changing, there'll be other options. But yeah, if you use Teams phone system, congrats. It's great. It's fun to use. But the price will, after 8 years, right, it's now in third grade. So
I really wish the day-to-day items that I use, the vehicles and the houses that I've bought and sold I wish they wouldn't have had a price increase in 8 years.
Well, I mean, it'd be cool.
I'm just being the devil's advocate because it can be frustrating when this stuff happens, but I like to push back a little bit, and it's just like nothing's cheaper. Nothing's gotten less expensive in the last 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it's frustrating, and you know what? Let's talk about it and let's just let it all out there. But
it helps the plan.
It's cost to do.
Yeah, it's cost to do business, and it also helps the plan. Right, knowing that beforehand, forewarned is forearmed. Right, so now people know we can talk about it. We can plan effectively around what we're going to do. But yeah, so price will go up a little bit. But again, all the new features that are out with it, right? There's so much new stuff happening with it that it's just and it didn't go up a lot. I think it went up a couple bucks a month. And chances are, depending on how many licenses you're buying, it's less than that anyways for you. Right? So it won't actually be $10 a month. So if you got questions, ask someone else. I don't know. But I can talk to you how to set it up. I can't talk about the licensing cost.
We don't make those decisions. That's right. We just deliver the news.
Yeah. We have the worst possible job. We don't get to decide. We just have to deal with the consequences.
Well, we're at time. This was fun. Any last closing thoughts you have?
If anyone remembers the name of Microsoft's old photogrammetry service, let me know. I'm trying to find it online, and all I'm seeing is flight simulator stuff. I need to find that. I loved that service when it was out, but yeah, it's been fun.
I think from my perspective, I know we've got next week's already scheduled for the stream. And, these last 4 or so have been, something that we just kind of batch put on the calendar. We've been obviously talking about, tech news updates. There's actually been quite a bit of interest and outreach, and I think we're going to have some guests on the stream here in the pretty near future. So what I'll make sure we do is when we have those guests, because we have the 20th scheduled, but then we don't have any already on the calendar yet past that. So I'll make sure when we post and schedule the upcoming ones, we'll obviously highlight and feature who we're going to talk with, and if there's kind of any pre-canned subjects, because I know that that's helpful sometimes when folks are trying to decide if they want to commit the 20, 25, 30 minutes of hanging out with us, or if they've got better things to do.
And let us know if they also have a shaved head and a beard, or if they're not allowed to have a shaved head and beard,
It's
to
not
be
a
second class.
prerequisite, but we have something kind of going here. I don't know.
It feels like a standard we've set. So we'll see. We may have to enforce it. Maybe there's a filter we can add on to this to give them shaved head and beard if they don't have one. So we can find the Grant and Ryan
Right.
filter we put on there.
That's good. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Adios.